welcome to another Stop BS Now English podcast. I'm joined today by no one. Well, except the millions of you who are doubtlessly watching this. Today I'm discussing Fahrenheit 451, the Unteachable, another unteachable novel. Of course, our teachers and professors do attempt to teach this book, wasting their time. It can't be taught, can't be taught. Why not? Too radical for a classroom, too radical for the lecture hall, too radical for most minds. How radical is it? Well, let us begin with, rather appropriately, what this novel and author have to say about school and education. First, we might note that Ray Bradbury, one of the greatest authors the United States ever produced, did not go to university, college, did not shine in high school. And yet he has written a book for our time, a very prophetic book. The book itself has a few things to say about education. It's arguably its most heroic character, Clarice McClelland, does not attend school. What is the message? She is a genius. I don't mean she builds rockets, tallies numbers. She understands people, understands life. She is not hypnotized by the media. She still knows how to talk. She observes people and notices that the art of communication is generally dead. And why should that be surprising in an age, well, when most people in her world were busy watching screens? And as the novel prophetically suggests, the screens will get bigger. Well, in our case today, we do have very large screens, indeed, but also small ones. Just so that, you can't be stationary for a while in front of a large screen, you can glue yourself to a little screen as you are moving about. The arts and education. Professor Faber mentions that he had lost his job. I think he was teaching, I forget, some great literary works. His position was replaced by, what was it? Comic research chair, some sort. The message is, of course, that the arts are replaced by science and technology studies, mathematics, and that's where we are today. Of course, something that passes for the arts still remains with us, but it is secondary and it is dumbed down. No one really takes the arts seriously anymore. Who gets a job in the arts? Who makes money from the arts? And so it goes. we have lost beauty and the ability to conduct real conversations. Um, so much to say, but where are my words? Been a long day. Speaking of the arts and technology, robots, we might go there. Fahrenheit 451 has a few things to say about facial expressions. What do we learn about Montag? Let's have a quick look. I might be able to do a share screen here. Hey, I managed. Speaking of Montag's smile, a fiery smile, still gripped by his face muscles in the dark. It never went away, that smile. It never, ever went away, as long as he remembered. I can imagine Montag, someone who speaks in monotone, unless he's angry. And his face is mono expression. In contrast, yes, we have Clarissa's face. I believe there, where are you? It's a fascinating face, according to Montag. She's a fascinating person, full of her face. The girl's face was there, really quite beautiful in memory. Not at all like his. Her eyes, I believe, were full of light. Let's find a little passage. Montag's eyes just reflect the world around him. This is the eyes of Clarisse. Nothing escapes them. She's very aware of the world around her, not just reflecting passively like a mirror. Let's find that next one. Here, the girl, Clarisse, stopped and looked as if she might pull back in surprise, but instead stood regarding Montag with eyes so dark and shining and alive, utterly in contrast to his wife, who spends all her time in front of a screen. What happens when you do that? Well, I do have a few images to share with you. Just a moment, I'll do another share. Oh dear, wrong image. There we go. The image of children watching a television. Oh wait, gotta get that share right. Where are they? There we go. And that's what happens to people watching television. Well, nothing happens. Virtually nothing. Faces become generally blank. Why? Because we're not thinking about what we're watching. We feel very little. We connect very little with what we see. Let's have a look at, well, I hope you can see this. Prime Minister Trudeau, our dear Prime Minister. This facial expression, he has some facial expression still. Trump once called him two-faced. And I suppose that's better than one-faced. I understand he means two-faced is bad because it means you're lying regularly. I like to think of myself as having many faces, maybe many names too. Anyway, this is our Prime Minister trying to hide a little smile at an inappropriate moment. Let's have another look at another famous face, Donald Trump. This is his smile. I had to reflect on this for a while. It doesn't seem quite natural. It seems like Montag's smile. Skin tone too, staring at too many fires. No, a healthy smile, a natural smile, usually involves an open mouth, slightly open mouth, more open eyes. This is closer to the expression, or quite close to the expression one might expect one is in pain and trying to grin and bear it. Not a full, natural smile. We expect. Here we have Dr. Fauci. Speaking of how we, using the personal pronoun, we are suffering in this time, this difficult time. I don't paraphrase him very well. But yes, he dared to use the pronoun we as if he is one of those many people suffering. Did not catch any expression of sympathy or nor a tone indicating sympathy. The language remained very academic, diplomatic. These are not quite human, these humans, are they? Our dear Prime Minister again here in noble North. Normally he speaks in monotone, very little facial expression, more perhaps than his colleagues. He did have some training as an actor, I believe. At this moment, he is barely repressing a smile at the thought that he's not present in Parliament, not needing to deal with all the, what should we say, warlike verbal confrontations between various party members. Don't blame him for not being upset about Parliament being shut down. But after all, this is the one illusion, the one facade that we still have a functioning democracy. It's nothing to smile about. We should be protesting that, fighting to keep Parliament open so that the facade of democracy can persist. Alas, cannot. It's come to an end thanks to a little germ. Damn germs. And this man, perhaps, premier of our province, takes lack of expressiveness to a new level. The eyes blank. He rarely moves his face at all. His body too, and well, sorry, I didn't mean to put my head on these people. They might not approve. These very somber robots. Yes, we've all become like the machines we work with. And maybe that's a good reason to shift the topic to technology. I'm halfway there already. What does this unteachable novel tell us about technology? Everyone's in love with you. Really. They'll line up and wait for hours to buy smartphones that make them stupid. Of course, Ray Bradbury's well-known critic of technology. Um, and we can play safe and say he criticized just certain aspects of technology. Oh, he wasn't a Luddite. Can't be that. We couldn't teach it then in high schools, could we? Have a serious discussion about technology being essentially, fundamentally not good for humanity. Well, that is what the novel says. Not only that novel, but everything. Ray Bradbury wrote the famous short story, The Pedestrian. Others, titles don't come to mind. Technology is dehumanizing, and presently it's just empowering the most greedy, psychopathic elites, right? I think they're presently launching satellites all over the planet to beam down 5G. They would have us believe it's for our good. Yes, so that we can have Netflix downloaded more quickly, as if people have been complaining about the slowness of their downloading and consuming. I think consuming has been too fast as it is. But no, the satellites will go, and perhaps they will be used to track everyone. Make sure no one wanders into a park where they cannot be seen under the trees. Make sure what else is going to be forbidden in the future, prohibited. Make sure groups of healthy people don't meet and have fun together. Goodness, social distancing. As if social distancing wasn't already being generated almost organically, dare I use that word, by the technologies we keep adopting into our lives. First, it was a little phonograph around which everyone gathered, or a television around which everyone gathered. Then we got rich, and everyone had their own televisions. But we could still be without them outdoors, in buses, no longer. We are socially distanced even when we're together, because we all have our own screens, barriers they should be called. Hopefully this barrier breaks a few barriers. It's also unteachable. 451 is unteachable because what does it say about the media? Really, I want to include education as part of the media machine we live in. But anyway, I neglected to do that. Let's treat it separately. The entertainment media. We find Montag's wife addicted to her media, entertainment media. Of course, he works long hours. He works at night. and doesn't have much time to spend with her. So perhaps we should applaud her for finding a surrogate husband, a surrogate family. The characters she watches on her screens, she refers to as uncle and aunt and family. She speaks to them. This is quite an advance, I suppose, in the entertainment industry. Perhaps in the future we will also have entertainment with which we can interact. I think it already exists, but not quite to the extent Ray Bradbury envisioned. In any case, the point remains the same. The media functions to help maintain destroyed families, to create the illusion that you have friends, fun, family. We even have some wonderful shows with characters who express real emotions, gentleness and kindness. I've caught my mother, dear mother, watching one recently. It would be nice to see such kindness and emotions in the real world. And it would be even better if those characters could say something intelligent about the real world, economic, political, technological, educational world. Well, hold your breath. Medicine. This novel is unteachable because of what it tells us about medicine. It is only used evil, cannot do good. Not modern medicine. Not pharmacological, not the pharmaceutical world. What do they produce? Little capsules, as they were referred to in 1984. No, in Fahrenheit 451, medicine is used to calm people, suppress thought, emotion, mental life, so as to give people the illusion that everything is okay. Mildred, dreadful Mill. She, of course, commits suicide by overdosing on medicine. What kind of medicine can kill you? Good medicine, real medicine, should improve its effectiveness with quantity. No, we produce medicines that are so toxic to us that we must avoid taking too much of it. And what is real medicine? We might have to ask Clarisse, who appears to have been a vegan, perhaps. Certainly someone who was extremely connected to nature. As it is, Mildred doesn't know about real medicine. She knows chemical, laboratory produced medicines, medicines that were never intended to be in us, and medicines that can never make us healthy. Finally, of course, there's the mechanical hound with his needle. What do we call it? Vaccine, hypodermic. It's coming. Of course it's coming. And it's not very optional. In our coronavirus world, our dear leaders are already preparing to equip the military, those robots, with hypodermics In the States, I think dear Trump just announced that a few 100 million vaccine doses will be ready towards the end of this year, and the military will be authorized to deliver. Isn't that a good idea? Yes. They couldn't just provide them in every doctor's office and say, if you wish, you can now get your vaccine for free. Just visit your doctor. No, 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 no. We must have guaranteed 100% vaccination, even for healthy people, just in case, I'm sure. And if, well, they want to test everyone first too, of course, looking for evidence of coronavirus. Their tests, if you dare to do a little research, are garbage. And besides, our bodies are full of germs. Coronavirus apparently was detected some 50 years ago. There are over 30 types of coronaviruses living among us, within us. So of course, virtually everyone is going to test positive, even if they don't fake and cook the exams, cook the books, cook the exams. Yes, that's why a book like Fahrenheit 451 can't be taught, because it paints a dystopian world. We all know that. And that world was not based on some nightmare, loosely based on what might happen in the future. No, Ray Bradbury already had a very good taste of the dystopian world. He was living in one already. And we have continued to improve our dystopian world. I mean, improve it by making it more dystopian. Thanks to education, thanks to technology, thanks to the media, thanks to medicine. All of this is making us more stupid, more psychopathic, more blind to where we are going. Oh, by the way, I missed a little bit on the media front. This good book also says something about the news media, doesn't it? I think it's towards the end of that good novel that we learn media lied about Montag being dead. It even lied about the mechanical hound chasing him, I believe. Fake footage. Well, that was prophetic. I'm not sure the media was already faking news stories back in the 50s. Of course, the CIA had already become actively involved in news production. Let's reflect on that. Today, of course, there's no shortage of fake news stories. But don't wait for your schools to teach you about that, or for the media to admit that. It's all fakery now. Fakery and robots. Oh, and perhaps the biggest reason of all, Fahrenheit 451 cannot be taught, is what it says about civilization in general through the man named Granger. He had also been a fan of books. Oh, by the way, let's forget what the scholars like to think about Bradbury's thoughts about books. This is not a book. 451 is not a book that defends books. Not entirely. It certainly says they have a place. But I think it's also, the author was also aware that books have largely been used to brainwash people, and humans can function quite well, probably much better, without books. I don't say that easily or lightly. I am a bookworm of sorts. I read too much. I write far too much. Publish very little because I like editing myself and improving something before I am improving something, sometimes endlessly. Anyway, I think it's Clarisse, again, we could use as a fine example of someone who doesn't need books. She's educated by her uncle with whom she speaks. All the knowledge we need can be shared orally. Let's not forget that for millions, for thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000, perhaps more years, humanity functioned quite well without books. All the knowledge we needed could be managed, then some, in our minds. And books were not invented, by the way, in order to make us more intelligent. On the contrary, books and writing itself was invented by people who wanted control. Business contracts, laws. As I was saying about Granger and civilization, this book cannot be taught because it has some very radical things to say about civilization. Let's have a look at what Granger has to say about civilization. By the way, his name Granger, again, I think that has a strong link to nature, perhaps agriculture, not to technology. Well, here he is making an interesting application of the phoenix myth. There was a damn bird called the phoenix back before Christ. Every few hundred years, he built a pyre and burned himself up. He must have been first cousin to man. Every few hundred years, killed himself, destroyed himself, then was reborn, only to repeat his mistake, right? Fire being perhaps the most primal, primitive, primordial symbol of technology. We're still living in a world of fire, right? Fire engines, of course, every engine has fire in it. We produce electricity with fires. We have nuclear fires now. Everywhere. What else does he say about this myth? How does he apply it? It looks like we're doing the same thing over and over. We've just got one damn thing this phoenix never had. We know the damn silly thing we just did. We know our mistakes. We know all the damn silly things we've done for thousands of years. And as long as we know that and always have it around where we can see it, someday we'll stop making the goddamn funeral pyres and jumping into the middle of them. That's very poetic. Funeral pyres. What are those funeral pyres? That is civilization. Civilization is a funeral pyre. One might take the city as a good symbol of civilization. They keep going up in flames too, don't they? And they're not only full of fires, They go up in flames. This good novel was written shortly after World War II. Germany had just been destroyed quite thoroughly for a second time and would be rebuilt thanks to the Allies and American investors. Why bother? Why keep repeating these mistakes? Civilization is a mistake. That is the message. We're remembering, someday we'll remember so much that we'll build the biggest goddamn steam shovel in history and dig the biggest grave of all time and shove war in and cover it up. War, indeed. What does war represent? Can we separate it from civilization? Absolutely not. America wouldn't exist without war against Native people, war against the Africans, a war that enslaved them, and a war that dispossessed the Native people, war against Mexicans to dispossess them, a war against drug addicts, war against other companies, the war of business, war for dominance and monopoly. It's all war. And now it's a war on healthy people. They're not allowed to exist. Must force everyone to get sick, staying indoors, and get sick, receiving experimental vaccines. It's always been a war on nature. We're just taking it to a new level now. It's going to be fun resisting this war on us, on life. It's going to be fun burying this mistake we call civilization. And not rebuilding it. I think we can do better. There is a reason this good novel ends with an image of two trees on either side of a river, yielding fruit. On either side of the river, there was a tree of life. But don't make the mistake of thinking our good author was a Christian and promoting the Bible. This is a intentionally mistaken, erroneous paraphrase of the last book of the Bible, Revelation. In Revelation, it's one tree that somehow stands on both sides of a river. In this case, it is two. Wisdom starts with the number two, or two, as Nietzsche once said. Why is Fahrenheit 451 unteachable? Well, the firefighters. The idea is they used to put out fires. Now they start fires and burn books. How could a government institution, firefighting, be turned on its head and be used to start fires, destroy things, rather than preserve and protect? Is it possible that perhaps Ray Bradbury was hinting that governments do the opposite, what they say? I don't think firefighters actually start fires, not yet. But some other government agencies, I think perhaps inspired Bradbury's upside down world. Could he have meant that governments don't protect you, but prey on you? starting wars, sending people off to war, by creating reasons for crime, poverty, a culture founded on toxic leisure activities, drinking and smoking, toxic medicines. No wonders they have 1 million plus prisoners in the States. I'm sure we have our share here in Canada. These are wages of paying taxes to people who claim to bring peace and force, with force, peace, right, peaceful submission to the status quo founded on fraud, environmental destruction, exploitation of the poor, the masses, poisoning of human health. That's, if you can maintain that system, keep everyone peaceful while they sail towards annihilation, then I suppose our peacekeepers, our officers of the law are doing a great job. Yes, it's an upside down world where the government does not govern in any sensible way, not in any way that's going to lead us to a world without stress and ignorance. Which reminds me, our education system, claiming, of course, to educate, bring knowledge to children, is actually an arm of a government that, like any government, is devoted to brainwashing, keeping people ignorant, submissive, willing to cooperate with a system designed to exploit them, or the greatest number of them possible. You might not notice it so much in your own country if it's a developed country, privileged country. There are places in Canada, maybe Singapore, States, other places where you can forget that your life is founded on the unfortunate and cannot exist without them. The unfortunate within your own country, the lower classes, the minimum wage earners, the foreign workers, temporary, what do they call them, seasonal workers, and all the exploited third world countries that are not, incompetent. They are carefully farmed, exploited for profit. Our elites had wanted to, they could have made Africa their home and their land of unsustainable material wealth. As it is, they chose to stay home and to settle in North America. In any case, the same might be said of science. It's all an upside down world. This is one of the reasons, this is one of the ways we should understand that Fahrenheit 451 is unteachable, too radical. And yes, might seem like a stretch to go from firefighting to governing, peacekeeping, healthcare systems, education systems, science and technology. But, firefighting is a small part of what governments do. But as Aristotle once said, someone named Aristotle wrote, the specific represents the general in literature. It was mentioned in the Poetics. Not that I'm a fan of theirs. I think that's all. Take care, everyone.